streamed and probably about to be recorded.
Great. Of all the times to get a hiccup. Sometimes I just get one stray hiccup, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing that everybody doesn't know is that we are often naked together in the mornings.
That's true.
Via selfie. Andy and I take our ugly selfies in the morning and send them to each other very often. So this is nothing new to us.
Except for you have makeup on, and
I have makeup
hair's
on.
done, and I have my glasses on. So
there. So.
Oh, wow. Well, Cheri, have I got the genitals for you?
If you've got an itch, Andy Vargo will scratch it. Welcome to Scrutiny with Cheri and Andy. I'm Cheri Hardman. This is my good, dear friend,
Andy Vargo.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about all things under the sun with our own special brand of scrutiny. How are you today, Andy?
Cheri, I am excellent. We were just saying as we started up that it feels like this has been forever since we've done this, even though it's been like 10 days or we missed 1 week. And so it just feels like it's been forever, but being back here with you, there's a lot of good stuff going on in life, and I am soaking in the positivity.
Good. I was wondering, I was thinking like, why weren't we here last week? And then I remembered we were supposed to go out of town. And
that got delayed.
And we didn't. So
yeah,
I don't know when it got delayed too. I still haven't gotten any answers. So I guess if we get a poster one day, then we'll know.
Then we'll know. Then we'll tell y'all where we're going, and it'll be fun at that time.
Yeah.
So how have you been, Cheri?
I've been good. You know, work has finally kicked in. It's been a little bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a classroom teacher.
Oh, wow.
And we don't have like a substitute. So whatever teacher's on their planning period comes in and covers our class.
Oh, so it's different the whole time.
Each day we have 3 different subs.
Wow, that's hard because
so the kids have had every time they've come in here, there's been a different person.
That's
I'm like been the only constant thing, and it's starting to wear on them a little bit. There's like, where's our teacher? You know?
Yeah, doesn't anybody want?
Sometimes the sub doesn't show up, and then it's just me. Today I brought 7 kids with me to make copies because I couldn't just leave them in their building by themselves.
Like, all right, kids, we're going on a field trip to the copy room. Oh, that's awesome.
We've had some interesting stuff. We had a student yesterday pull wings off flies, a girl, high school girl, and then take it around and try and put it in other people's faces. So it's been weird, but it feels good to be like kind of back in the swing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always envied you, especially the last couple of years as I've gotten to know you more, but your comedy career has grown so much, and your ability to be up at, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 in the morning to go work a day job, and then 3 or 4 nights a week, sometimes maybe more, out doing comedy shows that go late. That's a lot.
Called naps. Luckily, I've always been a nappy person. And I found that an hour is the sweet spot.
Okay.
If you go longer than that, no, then you're too groggy. So just a 1 hour nap, I set my alarm, and it really does help. So
I'll have to try that because I have had the thing where I nap too long and then I end up being up too late. It just messes up my whole schedule. And if I don't nap enough,
you don't want to go anywhere after that if you wake up.
Yeah.
Now yesterday I had I call it like a wonder nap because I woke up and thought it was morning and then I had to get ready for work.
Yeah, those are.
I realized, oh wait, I just took a nap. Like I get to go to bed again in a little while. So
right, exactly. It's like, I still get to get up and have dinner or dessert or whatever, watch a show.
No, it was like a gift I gave myself. So
that's fun. I've had those where I woke up at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and thinking that I missed my alarm or something. And, you know, especially when I used to work at 3 and 4 in the morning, and I would fall asleep sometimes, and I'd get up at 11 or 12, like I'd only been asleep for an hour or two, and I would be panicking because I thought, oh my God, I didn't hear my alarm. And sometimes I'd be practically in the shower and then realize that, oh crap, what time is it?
I want to say hi to Kirk. I see that Kirk has commented.
Hello,
And,
Kirk.
the walking fly trick. Yeah, I like Kirk. Kirk, you know, what's really was nice. I don't want to say it was nice about the pandemic, but it was cool because there was a whole community of displaced comedians that were doing Zoom shows. And so I met people from all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we met Kirk down in
Vegas in person.
down in Vegas and hung out with him. And so you even hung out with him more than I did. But
Well,
it's just so nice to like kind of like already know someone and then go meet them.
yeah, because there's people from all over. It's interesting to me with things like a pandemic where events happen, and even if there's people that you know, you get closer to them for different reasons because you find you have something in common or you're getting through something together, and then you're like, you know what, I never knew that I would have developed this closeness with that person. Or
yeah, it's like Kirk and I haven't spent that much time together like in person. But I mean, we were together every Saturday night doing the roulette wheel with Tara, and
yeah,
so we kind of became like a little family. So all those people feel very familial to me. You know?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Community-
silver linings.
Yes, that's true.
So, Cheri, do you have some stuff coming up you want to share?
I have lots of stuff I want to share. Thanks for asking, Andy. Yeah, this is a way of redirecting me. Like, shut up, Cheri, and let's go move on. Okay, no.
No.
Tomorrow night, I'm doing a show in Auburn with Emmett Montgomery and Narin Van.
Exciting.
That's exciting. I don't get to work with Emmett that often. Our paths don't usually cross, and so he was one of the people that when I was stranded in Texas was trying to help me get.
Yeah. He's a good guy, and I will say that Emmett is one of the people you had told me to watch for before I ever saw him, because of his style and his skill with how he puts things together.
Storytelling.
Yes.
Storyteller.
And when I did finally see him, it was like, damn, I need to take notes because it's just so amazing in the way that he tells the jokes.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And then Saturday night, I'll be in Linwood doing a Shindig show with Jimmy Shin.
Ooh.
I haven't met him yet, but I kind of looked him up a little on the, internet to see some of his stuff, and it looks like fun. And one of my old friends is going to come up and see the show.
That's
so that'll
exciting.
Be fun. And then Sunday night, I'm doing good comedy at Bad Jimmy's with I'm going to forget somebody. I know Rachel's on the show. Anyway, Nate Jackson headlining.
Nice.
And
That's exciting.
I like Nate. So
Nate time.
Yeah, so it's a great weekend full of stuff. And then next week, I know we're going to be here Thursday, but I got a show Thursday night, a film festival Friday night, and another show Saturday night. So the next 2 weeks are going to be really busy.
That is.
Yeah, what's going on with you?
Well,
tell your big news.
Yeah, so I've got a couple things. Well, the first big news I'll share, since you brought it up, is that I made it through round 3 of the Comedy Voice at Tacoma Comedy Club.
Oh.
So, woohoo!
Hey.
So this.
So what did we start? How many did you start with?
I don't know if it was 50 or 60. I was going to go back and look because they did 3. I think it was like 60. They did 3 different shows of auditions, and I feel like it was about 20 per show. Maybe not quite, but it was 50 to 60 comedians that signed up. That got narrowed down to 24 that they chose. And those 24 2 weeks ago got narrowed down to 12 by doing a comedian head-to-head. You had to go against somebody, and then one person got eliminated. So I made it through that round. And at that point, judges or the coaches were making all the choices on who moved forward. And now in this last round, it moved to audience vote. So the 12 people that had made it through the head-to-head went up, and the audience voted on the top 8. And so I'm in that top 8. Now the finals will be on the 21st. And it's going to be a fun show because the audience votes again. The 8 of us are going to go up and give a set, and the audience votes on your top 3 favorite, and those 3 will have to go right back on stage and give another set so that you can vote on number 1. You know,
Oh, that's right. That is how that goes.
yeah, and that's going to be September 21st at 7:30 at Tacoma Comedy Club. Free show. Show up. Vote for the guy in the red on your awkward shirt. It's a very simple process. That's all you've got to do. But yeah, that's coming up here in just under 2 weeks. So I'm excited about it. This was a challenging show this last time. There were some dynamics that, you know, I was first up. So that's always a little trickier. You worry that people will not remember you at the end. Yeah, the room still felt a little cold when I was up there. It didn't feel like it got a lot of energy out of the opening.
I think it was cold the whole night.
Yeah, and that's true. It was.
I pretty much crapped the bed up there myself, you know.
Yeah, I felt bad for you because your set was in that stall time where people are voting, turning in their ballots, going to the back. Like you had not the best audience because of the functionality of.
I think the audience was just a weird audience.
It was a weird audience. I will give you that.
Because I've seen lots of audiences.
Yeah.
And you can tell when it's a weird one, and it was a weird one. So I don't
And
think a lot of them were really there for comedy.
Yeah, I had about 20 people there. I was really excited to have people come. I'm hoping to more than double that number for the next round. I just want to like have a presence, you know. If you want to show up in your awkward shirt, hit me up. We can get you taken care of, you know. I'm just looking forward to it.
Andy, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like now, like I gotta, because I'm technically like a guest judge or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel
So
like
you have to kind of.
I feel like I have to be neutral, kind of.
Right.
Although all I'm doing is just sitting there, like I'm not voting. There's nothing, you know. But I'm just,
No, but I know what you mean. It's like, yeah, you kind of have to be okay. Now I'm in a position where I can't, you know. If it was earlier rounds, it would definitely be you'd have to be neutral because you're pushing on your team. Yeah. But yeah, I get it. So I have that on the 21st. This week, though, I do have a show next Wednesday on the 15th at the Airport Tavern. And that's going to be a fun show. That's a room that Casey McLean books. And he's got a good lineup. I think there's maybe 6 or 8. It looks kind of like a showcase. There's about a few of us comedians that are all doing 10 minutes. So it's going to be a fun time.
Oh.
Yeah. So contest, like I said, votes matter. 21st of September, 7:30 p.m. And it's a free show. So just show up and vote. But please get there before the show starts at 7:30.
I see Emmett Montgomery is watching, and I think he probably missed us singing his praises. So
yeah, he probably missed that whole part where I was like, Cheri was telling me I have to watch for him. And then I finally saw him and it was amazing. So Emmett, we appreciate
We'll have to rewind there and look at that. But
he heard us talking about him.
Yeah, so we got some good stuff going on, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Do we have any other like housekeeping chatty stuff that we want to take care of?
Not that not that I have on my list other than getting right into it. We got a couple topics to talk about today, right?
We do have a couple topics, and the one that I really wanted, we usually I pick something I'm interested in, and you pick something you're interested in, and then we talk about both of them. And I didn't have time to make any. I do want to do a game where I'm going to take pictures of like 2 guys and make you guess which one I've had sex with, because I think that would be hilarious. But I got to find some of them. We got to locate some people first.
Sure, that don't
anyway,
mind.
So
sure.
I didn't have time to put together a fun little game like that, mostly because I forgot we were doing this today. But I've been thinking about this topic for a while. Mostly like from going to Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club, because the subject is body language that I want to talk about. And one thing that Nate does is if he notices somebody in the audience with their arms crossed, he addresses it right away. Like he asks them why, tells them that they're at a comedy show to uncross he literally tells them to uncross their arms because they're blocking the comedy from coming to them.
Yeah, I've seen him do that.
And it makes you more open. And I thought that's really kind of brilliant, because you do see them, once those arms unclench, you do see them visibly relax. So I thought, well, just look at that, how much that one little thing of body language can really make a difference, because I don't know about you, but if I'm on stage and everybody's laughing, but there's one guy sitting like this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking right at him the whole time going, that one guy's not laughing.
Okay, now I had this exact thing happen on Sunday. I did an open mic, and there was one couple. They were a little bit older, sitting in the front, very front, right here. And I'm telling some off-color jokes, as you do. Now, this was an open mic that is a mix of music and different things, so they didn't necessarily come to hear off-color comedy. So I was giving them that benefit of the doubt, but it was awkward and I wasn't even telling the worst of my stuff. Like, I was relatively tame for my standards,
Right.
and so I'm telling jokes, but I can just see the whole time the room laughs, and I was like, but I if it was going to be a full comedy show, I would have maybe been more distracted by that, but the rest of the room was really on board. So, but it did play with my mind for a little bit, because at first there was enough thought given to it where I thought, wait, is it just them? And then I started to pay attention to the rest of the room to see if other people weren't on board.
Well, and the other thing is, and I want to be a little cryptic about this, but I was noticing a picture of a couple, and I noticed in their body language, I noticed something about their body language that I thought did not bode well for their relationship. My mom's calling me now. Sorry, Mom. Anyway, that's going to distract me from it. No, but I've noticed this, and I've actually seen people talk about this on TV shows about this and everything, is noticing how couples are in pictures. Like, if one person is gazing or trying to gaze into the other's eyes and the other one is looking away, or one just, like I know this woman, and in every picture I see of her, she's holding on to her husband in some way.
Oh, yeah. Like you're not going to get away.
He's looking straight at the camera. I'm like, that whole picture, and I know them, tells the whole story of their relationship right there. Like, he's disinterested. She's grabbing onto him for all he's worth.
It's funny. You pointed something similar to this out to me maybe a year or year and a half ago. I remember you saying something about a picture, because it was like a Facebook post, and I remember it was somebody that I knew, where I was asking, I was like, this just seems odd. And you had made that comment about how you'll see couples who there's always one it's almost a dominating presence over the other one. Or
just a desperation. Like, oh,
yeah,
don't leave,
Yeah, but it makes you feel like, I think it is representative in a lot of ways of a relationship where maybe one person doesn't feel whole, and so they feel like they have this fear of losing that person. And it might not even be so sinister, just like you said, like that desperate, like, I don't want them, I'm nothing without you, I can't let you go. But it also goes in hand with kind of the over posting the love story posts, like at least for me, I see that, where the same type of people who are in those situations are where the one person in the relationship is always posting about the relationship and the other one never posts anything really, it's like kind of one-sided in the.
Well, I post about my husband, and he never posts about me, but that's just because he doesn't really post that much.
Well, that's the thing too, is it does depend on personalities, because there are people who just don't really post.
If one person's who's just madly in love and the other person nothing.
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes. But I guess so what I'm saying is that people can tell a lot about you just by your body language. Now, they used to say that like 70% of all communication is nonverbal, and that the studies that came from are not necessarily accurate, but a big part of communication is nonverbal, from even, the tone of your voice, or whether you're fidgeting or your facial expression. But for today, since we're just going to do this for a few minutes, just talking about how your body is positioned. A couple things that I heard that I thought were really interesting is that if you're in a group of people, you can kind of tell, knock it off, Andy. You know how I am. If I think you're not listening for a minute, I'll stop and go,
I'm going to rein you back in here.
But if a group of people are all sitting or standing around, you can tell, like, if someone is not really wanting to be there by how their toes are positioned.
Yeah.
If they're sitting where they're like pointing like this, they might be facing this way, but if their feet are like, they want to leave.
Yeah, I've heard that if you are standing next to like your boss and if they point their toes away from the conversation, it's like a subliminal thing we don't realize we're doing, but when we're ready to walk away, we start to move our feet.
Mhm.
And I read that. I read a book a couple years back about, I think it's called The Power of Nonverbal Communication or something along those lines, but it was written by a gentleman who was someone who would interrogate people, or like for the CIA or FBI, like where their job was to investigate and question people. And so he talked a lot about reading verbal cues. And one of the things that they talked about too was, one of the things is this piece of our body is where all of our organs are. And if you look at animals that walk on four legs, this space is always protected because it's where our heart, our kidneys, our lungs, like everything's right here. So it's natural for us to protect that. So when we don't feel comfortable, a guy might straighten his tie, or you might like fidget with something over here, something where you cross this center mass. So if someone doesn't feel comfortable when you ask them something, if they do something that is a soothing type of behavior, that is one of those things. But one of the things that I also learned in that book is it talked about the pointing of the feet. It talked about how if you go to have coffee with somebody, typically women are more comfortable sitting directly across the table because they're used to face-to-face interaction, whereas guys are used to sitting next to each other. And so the way they say to break that dynamic up is to sit at angles. So you, instead of sitting directly across, you sit on the two corners so that you can kind of chat next to each other. And it's not the same kind of, there's a helicopter again. I don't know if you can hear that. It's not the same kind of formality where you have that space between you. But the big thing that I learned from it was that sometimes someone's sitting like this just because they're comfortable. It's not always, you can't say, oh, because that's what they mean.
Right.
However, anytime something happens, when someone changes their position, that's a cue that something happened that they weren't comfortable. So if there's something in the conversation and you bring up a point and they go like this, or they shift a different way, they needed to make a change in order to kind of disguise their discomfort. And that's one of those nonverbal cues too.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other ones that I know of too are like mirroring. If someone's mirroring you, like if you go like this and then they go like this, that means they're digging you and feeling you in some way or another. So
Yeah.
that's good to know, like when you're dating.
Mhm.
The other one I've talked about before is like when you're in a group of people and something is funny, or watching a movie or at a comedy show, people will turn to the person in the group that they feel closest to and look at them. So it's a
Yeah.
really good way of gauging like where you fit in a group, and I think that's really interesting. And I always like say like, well, my husband always just stares straight ahead. Like I'll look at him. He never looks at me. So I don't know what that means, but
He feels connected to the show. He's paying attention.
I guess, yeah. So there's that. So that kind of stuff is interesting. Or if someone's turning towards you, it's good. It's a good thing. It is.
Mm-hmm. So Cheri.
I'm glad you're being mean to me on camera where people can see it.
You're like, see what I have to put up with? No, I'm curious though, like, because there's two things. Like, number one is how do we use what we know about body language to read other people so that we know how they view us or how they want to interact with us in the moments that we're with them. And then how do we also be aware of our own body language so that we can portray the right image, or not hurt somebody's feelings, or whatever that is, or think, okay, if I'm looking at if I'm always the one clinging on to somebody, am I aware that I'm doing it, for one thing? And if I am, what is the reason that I'm always doing it? And is there something I need to address in my own level?
Yeah, if you look at all the pictures of you and your partner and you're the one that's always hanging on to them and they're not hanging on back,
yeah,
well, you might want to take a look at that. I just think that might be.
And the trick is, I think that our instinct a lot of time is to look at that picture and say, hey, how come you're never hugging me? You need to be hugging me back, and put it on the other person. And that's not a healthy thing to do, because you're always putting, in those situations, you're putting your value and happiness on being dependent on how somebody else is treating you and on those expectations that you're putting on them. But if you can be secure in not always being the clingy one, give them a chance to be clingy to you, because then they may say, oh, I didn't get a hug today. Where are we? But you have to you can only address your own part, and you can't put it on the other person where you say, it can't be about, well, I'm always doing this, you're not doing it for me. It needs to be about, well, I can only control and change the actions I'm taking, even if it is with the person that you love very much.
It's true. I just want to say that when I take pictures with my husband, how the conversation goes, it's always like, get in front of me, because I have a huge giant fat head and he has a small head. And if he's like behind me, he looks like a little boy. And it's just like,
this is all about positioning.
It's all about making mama look slimmer. So,
and then always take the picture from up above.
Yes, that's true. All right. So that's really all I wanted to talk about with body language. I could go on and blather on forever, but I hit the main points because I think I personally don't use it on how to think about what I'm doing. I always just look to see how other people are reacting to me. That's how I use it, because I'm aware. So
nice.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought this one's kind of interesting, and I've talked about it in different ways over the years in different things, but not necessarily on our show. And it's about dealing with having some sort of religious faith while being gay. Because I was raised Catholic, and I believe in Christian morals and things like that, and I believe in God and Jesus, and this is what I believe. And that's not always welcome. And it's one of those things that a lot of people have issues with because they've had bad experiences with different areas of Christianity. And it's like anything where you could have any group of people you have a bad experience with, and there's always some that either interpret things wrong, take the rules too far, or take things on their own vision. And for myself, I guess I'll just share what's gone through let me tell you the reason this came up. I was talking with a client, and we actually got on this subject about, how do you weigh what you were raised with your faith with what could be at odds with that, with being gay, and how do you not give up on a piece of you that was important for another piece of you that is also important. And I think that can relate to anybody, no matter what it is. We're at odds with that a lot of times with careers and home, where I have this thing that is so important to me, but I also have this that is a part of my life that is hugely important, and I can't figure out how to balance that. So there are a lot of times we have things that we're at odds with that don't always seem like they should go together very well. And so we were getting into this conversation. It made me think about it. And then actually yesterday I had somebody match with me on OkCupid. And I'm not very much on the dating sites, but I haven't deleted that one yet, so I just check it every once in a while. But I had matched with this guy, and his first message was, "Oh, I see you identify as a Christian. Is that accurate?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he says, "Well, since I already know we disagree on things, we're probably not a good match." And I was like, "Okay, that's nice, but that's fine, because I'm not going to be a good match with anybody who can't even just have a dialogue, And but one of the things, so when I was talking with my client about this earlier, the way I explained it was, when I was raised Catholic, and I'm gay, and I knew from early on that I was gay. I just never came to terms with it. I hoped to make life different, and that was the only way that I could see a traditional life, was to get married, and that's why I did. And then thought, oh, this is cool, I'm living this life, and I didn't see myself as being gay as an option for living a regular life. And this is in the 90s. Things are a lot different now. However, then after I came out, you've got this, well, gosh, what's right? Can I feel this way, and can I not feel that way? And we were talking about faith, and I said, the thing is, for me, whenever things are going bad, I still pray to God. And I'm like, God, help me through this. God, get me from A to B. whatever, and whatever label you call it, it might be God, it might be the universe, whatever. But I was saying that's how I know I have faith, because I still know that someone's going to help me. And that's what I come back to. And whether or not that faith fits into an institution, there are a lot of institutions that don't fit with what I agree with or believe in, and they call themselves Christian, and those aren't who I align with. And I think that's kind of how I came to terms with it for myself. That okay, if I'm in these moments and this is how I feel, that's still what I go to.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so I just was curious what your take is on the whole faith situation, the whole, how do you deal with things that are at odds with each other? I'm kind of rambling at this point.
No, well, that's kind of different, because a lot of that religion stuff I struggle with. I grew up, I'm not gay, so it's like different, but I'm just talking religious struggles. I grew up in like a Pentecostal family, like what they called holy rollers, and they were speaking in tongues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I have family that, let's just say I don't go to church anymore because I feel that there's so much that has to do with the people that are running the church that maybe aren't really Christ-like.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so I think I can have a healthier relationship with my faith by myself.
Yeah. And I don't go to church either, pretty much for that same reason, because I feel like I can do more in my community. I have a community of people that are my community that I feel it's my job to support, and it doesn't have to be that they are from a church.
But there is also a lot of, I don't know about you, learning as a child when you go to church and you go to Sunday school that there's always that threat of you're going to go to hell. If you do something wrong, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
And so much of it is just fear-based that it's hard sometimes to overcome that. I mean, to see, first of all, that is one of the problems, I think, of religion.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, just that whole reigning with fear.
Yeah.
But, that's, I think it kind of really messes with people. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know too that people who could be gay or in any other situation where they just have had bad experiences, if you've had a group that has persecuted you and held a banner that says, we're saying that you're less of a person, and here's the banner that we're flying under, you would never want to go back and touch that. So I get why people are in that place. Fortunately, I didn't, I was being raised Catholic. I heard all the messages, and maybe I just didn't listen very well, because I heard about, it's not right, you're going to go to hell and all that stuff. But when it came down to coming out, I didn't feel like, and I hadn't been going to church for a long time before that. So it wasn't like I stepped out of that community because I was gay. I was already out of that community. I had already gotten to a place where my spirituality and faith was not tied to an organization or an institution.
Okay.
And I think that when it comes down to it, I can't understand how any type of organization that stands on the grounds of treating each other well and being faithful and having a loving God would have any claim to say that any certain class of people or group of people are worth less than another. And
right.
And so those are the groups that don't make any sense, but that's not all of them. So I don't know. So that was just kind of, after having a couple different things where that came up this week, I was like, gosh, it's like, how much do you have to defend what you're thinking or what you're feeling just to even like have conversations with people? And, with my client, it wasn't that kind of situation. It was very open dialogue about how do we explore this. It wasn't a defensive situation, but I've had situations where it's like, how can you believe this? And how can you do that? And it's like, well, you know what? Your experience was not mine. And I can understand that you have a reason to feel the way you do because you walked through doors I didn't walk through, or maybe had people close doors that you should have been able to walk through. But I do like what you say about, kind of stepping out of following the leadership of any particular group.
Right. Well, I mean that, it gets dangerous. And I mean, there's, I don't want to get start offending people or anything here, but I think there's a lot of things going on under the name of religion that are really very hateful. And it's dangerous. It causes people to want to commit suicide or, just really
Yeah.
themselves or just really be messed up. So it's something it's like when I meet a good loving Christian, there's sometimes you can just feel that spirit in a person of love and
Right.
there are certain people it's funny because I grew up in the religion I grew up in, but my sons one is a Catholic and one is a Mormon.
Mm.
I don't know if you really knew that, but
I didn't know that. That's funny.
yeah. So Andrew's the Catholic, Noah's the Mormon, and Andrew, when we were kids, we were kind of taught that the Catholic Church was just, all they have to do is just, recite some little thing and they think that their sins are gone and they didn't even, that's how we were taught. But I'll tell you, some of those people in the Catholic Church, when Andrew was really, really ill, in Harborview, I mean, there was one lady that he met she came every day, and he was in Harborview for 3 weeks. She came every single day. There was people that came and played. I'm gonna cry now. Oh well, I'm gonna let it happen.
Yeah.
And played songs that he loved while he was in a coma, just in case he could hear them playing that song, or even when he came out of the coma and he could hear, but he couldn't talk or see or anything. And they brought their freaking guitar all the way up to Harborview from Federal Way.
Wow.
And played songs for my son. And it's my sister said, no, I shouldn't mention her, but I did. She said, I don't like the way they just keep pushing the Catholic thing. And I said, I don't care who it is. I don't care if they're a Buddhist monk or what. If they want to come up and pray for my son, I'm going to let them. I just didn't understand that. So I don't know. People have strong beliefs, and it's it's hard. If you've been taught something your whole life and you don't, it doesn't resonate with you anymore. How do you? I think a lot of people struggle with religion.
Yeah, and it's God, that's such an amazing story about them coming to see Andrew. But I mean, and the thing is, I think it's hard not to, when you're close to a situation and that they're there and what they're doing, they're just comforting him. You see that firsthand, but when you're a step or two away from it, there's that they must just be pushing religion on him. And it's and I think sometimes we want to over question people's motives because we've really learned to protect ourselves because of our experiences or what we've seen. And so it's natural to put that defense up, but a lot of times people's motives are just actually good, and that's okay.
Right. Right. Yes. I've met some very beautiful people.
Yeah. And that's the thing, my dad still goes to church pretty much every day of the week that he can, goes over and says the rosary. And that was one of the scariest things for me, was to go tell my parents, who at the time were 75 and 80, and be like, oh, by the way, your 40-year-old son is not only getting divorced, but also gay. And, it was a shock. And they've done amazingly well. I was afraid that I was going to have to call the ambulance because they were going to have a heart attack. I was just like, oh my gosh, how's this going to go? And it wasn't like a instant, oh my God, we're so happy for you. It was definitely took some time, but it wasn't ever, we're not talking to you. It was, concern and care, and I don't quite understand, but we're getting there. And,
right.
And I couldn't have asked for better. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but, as much as I look at how do I handle my faith, I look at, my parents who are like, okay, how do I love my son and still believe something that I've believed for 80 years and that is indoctrinated into my head as far as all of the levels of belief. But
I know that I would always say to Noah, are you sure you're not gay? Come on, you could tell me, please be gay. Just please be gay. Come on. But,
yeah. There's I don't know if you've ever watched the Catherine Tate show. I know you're not as big on British television as I am, but there's a Catherine Tate show which I don't know how long ago it was on, but there's clips on YouTube, and it was kind of like Mad TV or Saturday Night Live, where it's all these different skits and different characters come and go, and the entire series, she's the main character in all the skits. Catherine Tate is. Well, there's one character who is a mother whose son comes out to her, and he's probably, young adult, late, maybe late teens, early 20s.
Right.
And the mom is just so excited to the point the son is embarrassed. She's like, have you heard about our John? He's a gay man. And then she's like, come on, let's go look at curtains, and I need to do this and all that. And he's just like, Mom. But it's because there are people like that. I feel like a couple of my sisters were almost like that, where it's like, let's redecorate. I'm just like, it's too much too soon. I'm not that gay yet. Just like, but so my parents weren't quite there, but they weren't the, we're turning our back on you. But
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
So anyway, so that's a heavy subject.
It is, but it's okay to touch on it every now and then. I notice a lot of comedians are atheists.
Yeah.
Notice that? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I keep trying to write a bit about that, but religion is so touchy that I'm not that good yet. I guess I haven't mastered it because, but one day I am going to touch on that.
Yeah, I do have a little bit, I have a couple of my religious jokes, and I thought about expanding them a little bit. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do yet, because I'd like to talk more about that subject. There are certain things that, one of my challenges for this, my next stage in comedy is to really branch out into different subjects that I tell jokes about.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk about, and they're not light subjects. I'd like to talk about religion. I'd like to talk about being in an abusive relationship and how that is, and getting out of that. And there's a lot of things I'd like to touch on and talk about, but you know how it is with comedy. When you go into that new zone, it's a lot of work to get to anything that's good. And when you're touching on something that's that deep, it's just like, God.
There's a lot of awkward open mics.
Right. And I'm just not sure.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just wear my Own Your Awkward shirt, and I'll be like, so there's going to be some cringy moments tonight, and we're just going to work through it so I can listen for where the laughs could be, and I'll come back in a couple weeks and try this again.
That's good. I don't know if you know this. I should probably say this to the people that are watching, but I have a little exercise machine under my desk. So if you notice when we're talking that I start jiggling, that's why.
I didn't know you had a machine down there. I knew that you your legs get restless, and I knew sometimes you're doing that. So
yeah, it's a I don't know how to say it. If it's a QB, CUBII, and it's like a seated elliptical is what it is. So
okay, cool.
I'm trying to keep my legs.
That's pretty fun.
Alive. So, all right. Well, we already talked about where we're going to be.
Yep.
For the next few days. You can always go to CheriHardman.com to see where I'm going to be, and
you can check out all my social media by following Awkward Career, or look up Andy Vargo Awkward Career.
And of course, if you'd like to date Andy, or if you have any show ideas or questions or comments,
you can email us at, now get your pen and paper ready, Cheri and Andy. Or no, wait, sorry. Email us at Scrutiny with Cheri and Andy at gmail.com. Again, that's Scrutiny with Cheri and Andy at gmail.com for all your show needs or ideas.
all right. Well, it was lovely.
I'm a dork.
Time with you.
As always.
I don't think you ever answered me. Are you in town this weekend, or are you going?
Oh, I am in town this weekend. I have I'm going to be kind of out of pocket on Saturday, but I am in town the rest of the weekend.
Okay. And I was kind of hoping I could bring you with me Saturday night and stay in a hotel.
Bougie hotel.
I need a hotel buddy that my husband would approve of. So, all right. Well, I love you. I will see you later.
Love you too.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.